Hello everybody, it's Lorelei. Welcome back to another episode of Umineko. The last time we left off, we saw Natsuhi receive a mysterious phone call from somebody claiming to be her child. Or just that they know her secret. But anyway, without further ado, let's just get right into today's episode.
やっぱりこのバラ庭園は圧巻だぜ。6年前よりさらにすごくなってやがる。こんなのが似合わなんて羨ましいぜ。
んなことはねえぜ。私にとっちゃ船着き場まで遠くて邪魔なだけなんだけどな。
それは贅沢な悩みだね。
Exactly what I was thinking actually.
毎朝バラと挨拶してから投稿。素敵素敵。こんなにいっぱいのバラ、みんなと挨拶してたら遅刻しちゃうね。
演者は残念だな。お腹壊しやすいんだって。
らしいな。腸が弱いんだろうよ。しょっちゅう下痢してるぜ。
おお、レディーにそういうの言うのいけない。
それはすまねえ。そうだよな。女の子のお尻からはマシュマロが出るんだもんな。園児は体調が悪くてマシュマロが水飴になっちまったわけだ。
That's such a nice way of putting it, I guess.
それはさすがに
下品が過ぎるね。
George and Jessica slammed a knee and a fist right into either side of Battler's gut. Whack, smack, thud. The smack thud was probably the sound of his knees hitting the ground and him falling over. Normally, Battler possessed the good sense you'd expect of an 18-year-old man. However, it seemed that this reunion had brought him back to the mental age he had been 6 years ago. And bit by bit, Jessica and George realized that they were also returning to the way they'd been 6 years ago. 6 years really is a long time, huh? This charming chat was being observed by Natsuhi gazing through an open window in the hall.
奥様、旦那様がお探しです。
もう少ししたら行きます。まだお昼にもなっていないのに。
Yeah, it kind of makes sense why Natsuhi always constantly has headaches. I thought it was because Eva and her clashed a lot, but it also makes sense because she has such a big burden of covering up a secret, a huge secret that if the truth came out of, well, I think they would all definitely die. Well, maybe. Anyway, the sparks had been flying between them and Eva's group only a few moments earlier. The others had pounded on Kraus and Natsuhi over and over to get Kinzo out of his study. Apparently, they hadn't been fully tricked at last year's family conference after all.
お父様は問題ありませんね。
はい、お任せを。シャノンとカノンも今日の段取りを十分に心得ております。
熊沢は嘘をつくのが上手なようですから心配しませんが、南條先生が少し心配です。
Kumasawa is a good liar. I kind of always been under the impression that she's someone with a very loose lip. She would accidentally say something. I mean, it's been kind of shown before, but maybe, well, if Natsuhi says so, then maybe Kumasawa is a good liar.
隠し事が苦手そうでおられますから。
お任せを。
Leave that to me. If Nanjo says something, I will beat him up. Is that what Keiji is saying?
可能な限り、私が南條先生のお近くで補佐するつもりです。
あなたがいてくれるなら頼もしいですね。本当に助かります。現地の力なくして成し得ないことです。
恐縮でございます。
安心せよ。書斎の密室結界は完璧だ。結界を破らぬ限り、誰にも金蔵の秘密を暴くことなどできん。
ええ、分かっています。
I see. Yeah, okay. I kind of understand now. Yes. About the magic and the barrier.
しかしあなたも先ほどの客までのやりとりを聞いていたでしょ。
うん。やはり去年の時点で相当の不信感を持たれていたのであろうな。凄まじき毒素を溜め込み振りまいておるわ。
やはり今年が正念場になりそうですね。
今年を何とか乗り越えることはできようが、仏の顔もなんとやらだ。さすがに来年は無理と心得た方がよかろうな。
これほどまでに反魔法の毒素が満ちては、来年の親族会議でもゴールドスミス教の魔法を維持するのは難しいでしょう。
誰ですかあなたは。
ああ。
I'm just kind of wondering, but since, I mean, I can kind of understand Natsuhi knowing Beato, but what about Renove, who she has no idea before? Is she just creating Renove? Or what? It still is a little confusing for me, the whole concept of magic, I must admit.
驚かずともよい。わらわの家具頭を務める男だ。
はじめまして、夏日奥様、ロノウェと申します。どうぞお見知りおきを。
頼れる男だ。この男にも密室結界を守ってもらう。
そうですか。後宮夏日です。あなたにも協力をお願いします。
はい、奥様。魔法世界からお手伝いをさせていただきます。どうかお任せを。
ついでだから私も紹介してもらおうかしら。
And the other one comes.
はい、リーチェ。ご無沙汰。ガープか。そなたまで来てくれるとは心強い。遊びに来ただけのつもりだったんだけどね。手がいるようだったら声をかけて。はじめまして、マダム。挨拶するのは初めてだけど、私はいつだって誰のそばにでもいるわ。
こちらのガープはなかなかのいたずら者。先日奥様が自室にてお召しになろうとして床に落とし見つけられなかった頭痛薬、ガープの仕業でございますよ。
確かに置いたはずなのに見つけられない小物があったら、こやつのいたずらを疑うがよいぞ。わらわも昔随分とからかわれたものだ。
そうですか。いずれにせよ、ここは後宮の屋敷です。当家にいる間は当家に従っていただきます。よろしいですね。
もちろんです。心得ております。魔法世界での源氏と思い、どうぞいつでもご用命ください。
私にも客人の心得はあるつもりよ。家主の顔は潰さないわ。ロノウェもガープも頼れるぞ。しかし魔法の世界と人間の世界は表裏一体。
分かってます。もちろん私も人間の世界から努力します。力を合わせてお父様の秘密を守りましょう。
うん。
いつもの展開だな。どうせ翌日にならなきゃ話は進まねえ。
まあそうね。10月4日は私にとっての準備ターンみたいなものだし、バトラに何もする気がないのなら10月5日までのんびりしててくれていいのよ。6人死んだら呼んであげる。
Of course, that was a very irritating way to say it. The fight wouldn't start until a crime occurred. However, waiting for the crime to start would mean turning a blind eye towards the murders of the first twilight. In other words, it would be the same as being content with the fact that 6 people would die. True.
知ってる？チェスの先手と後手では先手の勝率が2倍とも言われてるのよ。
Is that true? The player who moves first is twice as likely to win? Is this true?
戦術の進歩でだいぶ変わるけどね。後手はドローを狙えれば上々とか言われてるんだっけ？
先手必勝くらい俺も知ってるぜ。ならどうしろってんだ。
そんなだからあんたは無能なのよ。
本当にいい？バトラー、10月4日にだって解くことができる謎は存在するわ。
Huh? Really? What?
何が解けるかわかる？
No. I don't.
まさか。あ、いや、しかし。
On October 4th itself?
まあ見てなさい。無能のバトラー。
Battler the incompetent. More like Lorelei the incompetent? I have a general idea of what these witches are talking about, but I don't? I've tried solving it several times myself in the past, but I still haven't found anything resembling an answer. Oh, the epitaph? On the contrary, I still can't even understand why that riddle exists. Is that important too? I mean, I guess it is. Why does the riddle exist in the first place? I don't think I've ever actually thought of it. That's right. The reason it exists. Why did Beato prepare a riddle like that in the first place? We all discussed it together from time to time in past games. However, I've been avoiding thinking about it under the assumption that there is no point in investigating the riddle unless we can solve it. This time, I should change my viewpoint. I shouldn't just focus on the obvious parts, like the truth of the riddle and how to solve it. What's more important is why that riddle was set up in the first place and displayed for us to see. That's what I should be thinking about. That is... yeah, definitely interesting. And the one proposing that riddle is Beatrice. Even if I can't solve it, I should be able to try and figure out what Beato was thinking when she showed it to us. Alright, this time I'm turning the chessboard over. The witches keep calling me incompetent. Let them laugh. My enemy is in them. I'm continuing our match, Beato.
Oh, とうとう降り始めたようやな。
やれやれ、土砂降りは心の中だけにしたかったもんだぜ。
People in the parlor noticed that raindrops had started to drip down the window.
これで親族会議が終わるまで私たちには逃げ場なしってわけね。
それは兄さんたちだって同じよ。逃がさないわ、絶対に。こっちのカードは悪くないのよ。兄さんは虚勢を張ってるだけだわ。絶対に屈服させてみせる。
取引っちゅうんはな、相手を任すもんとちゃうで。落としどころを用意しておいて、相手に花を持たせて自らに座らせるもんなんや。
That's crazy.
秀吉さんの言う通りだわ。さっきの話もちょっと追い詰めすぎよ。
兄さんにはあれくらいでちょうどいいわよ。
なんだ、ローザは寝ちまったのか？
朝が早かったとぼやいとったな。ま、昼寝もええんとちゃうか。
下手すりゃ今夜は徹夜だ。今から仮眠も賢いかもな。
Out of consideration for Rosa, who had fallen asleep on a sofa, the others quietly left the parlor. Rosa slept unaware. After telling Maria to just stay where she was after that tantrum over not being able to find her rose, Rosa slept, unaware that the rain had started to fall. Oh, we're going back to this one? Some things just never change, right? The rain poured down as though it had been saving up for this moment. Of course, Maria noticed the rain had started falling and was soaking her to the bone. However, that just made her even more stubborn. I completely understand. I get that. Unable to find the poor, slightly unhealthy rose that she herself had marked, she just couldn't stand having that search be interrupted by something like the rain. So the more the rain fell on Maria, the more stubborn she grew, and she wandered around and around the rose beds. As she did, from behind her back came a patter-patter? The sound of approaching footsteps. Then, whoever it was stepped in a very small puddle, making a light splashing sound, and Maria finally heard. However, even the slight distraction that sound caused made her feel irritated, and Maria ignored it despite having heard it. Relatable as well.
こんにちは。
Okay, that scared me. Because I wasn't expecting a sound. But I'm guessing this is a new person that we saw. Erika? Maria turned around, bewildered. After all, that voice was one she didn't recognize at all. I guess she was expecting maybe someone like Rosa coming up behind her and she was gonna be stubborn and not give in. But yeah, I would be surprised too if I'd never heard of this voice approaching me. On the sealed-off Rokkenjima, that voice belonged to no one she knew. We're just gonna leave it like that? I'm not gonna see who she actually interacted with? No way. Kraus and Natsuhi had been privately discussing what should be done next in a deserted corridor on the 3rd floor. Oh, okay. That must be where they were having that conversation, the suspicious conversation, right? Genji had searched everywhere for them.
どうしたのかね。シーツを雨に濡らした程度では、そこまで慌てることでもないと思うがね。
何事です？何か粗相でも？
海難事故で漂流されたと申す方が、先ほどお屋敷にいらっしゃられました。
Kraus and Natsuhi couldn't help but go wide-eyed and look at each other. This was the first time they had ever heard of someone coming up to this island uninvited.
漂流？それは本当かね。気の毒に来客として丁重に扱いたまえ。今はどうしているのかね。
I do like that Kraus first approached this situation with care, rather than being suspicious that someone is onto him, or that it could be someone that is planning something nefarious.
南條先生が診察しております。まだ診察中ですが、私の見た限り、お疲れの様子ではありますが、怪我などをされているようには見えませんでした。
I wonder who the drifter is, though, because we had the phone call from the previous episode, the previous part, and then we also had the mysterious girl show up, so I wonder who they are referring to.
それはよかった。私と夏日は今大切な話をしている。
Although I just realized that they could be one and the same, actually. The mysterious phone call and the mysterious person that showed up.
終わったらすぐに見舞いに行こう。その漂流者にはぜひくつろいでほしいと伝えたまえ。
かしこまりました。
Genji bowed deeply and started to leave, but Natsuhi called him to a stop. Genji stopped walking and Natsuhi jogged up to him.
Genji, その漂流者は男ですか?
She is also worried.
いいえ、お嬢様くらいの若い女性でございます。
女性？そうですか。結構です。下がりなさい。
The parlor of the mansion was bustling. The adults gathered, concerned about the well-being of the sudden guest. The sudden guest that I don't think I've ever showed up before, right?
まあ自力でバラテーンまで歩いてこれたなら命に別状はねえだろうな。
Oh, okay. Okay, I understand.
転ばぬ先の杖やな。ライフジャケットのおかげやろ。あれがなかったら溺れ死んどったかもわからんで。
どんな子だったの？ジョージやジェシカちゃんより上？下？
ジェシカお姉ちゃんよりは下だった。ライフジャケットと水着だった。ヘトヘトみたいだった。
漂着したのが船着き場のあたりだったなら本当に不幸中の幸いね。
I'm just kind of thinking about it, but obviously there are differences in the game that they're playing now, in this game board anyway. Because what happened initially was that Rosa woke up in a panic and had to go and find Maria. But Maria here just came back on her own, and I guess she reported what happened to the adults. She also probably didn't receive an umbrella from someone claiming to be Beato, so it's interesting.
もし島の反対側だったら大変だったわ。
しかし気の毒ね。この天気じゃきっと船も来られない。明日いっぱいまで彼女もこの島に釘付けかしら。
Oh, why did I was expecting some sort of jump scare, and I guess it kind of did, because the screen went dark. At that moment, the door clunked open and everyone looked in that direction.
皆様、お茶はいかがですか?
Goda, can you please not do that? That might actually kill me. It was Goda and Cannon, with the latter pushing a serving cart laden with a tea set. Goda understood well that doing a little extra at times like this would earn him points. The relatives, hungry for information, crowded around Goda. Goda ordered Cannon to serve the tea and became the sole object of the relatives' attention. Okay, Goda, I don't even have the word for it, but okay, Goda.
ゴダさん、どうなんだい？その子元気そうなのか？
さあ、わかりません。ですが、心配ご無用。
Because Goda is here.
南條先生がつきっきりで見ておりますし、熊沢もシャノンも一緒です。どうぞ、ご安心ください。まずは紅茶でおくつろぎになってはいかがですか？さあ、カノンさん、早く配って。
たく。Cannon knew that this tea was just Goda's way of earning points, so he lined the cups up with a slightly sullen air.
Oh, Maria も手伝う。
Aww.
大丈夫です。マリア様はそのままでお待ちを。
おお、マリアも配膳やる。
南條先生にはお会いしてないの？何か言ってなかった？
ええ、先ほどお会いしましたところ、それほどの外傷はないそうで、私もちらりとお見かけしたところでは。
Just as Goda had successfully captured the gazes of all present and was about to start talking knowledgeably on the subject, Nanjo returned. Of course, Nanjo instantly became the center of attention. Cannon turned his back on Goda, who seemed downhearted.
南條先生、どうなんですか？容体は大丈夫そうなの？
皆さん、ご安心を。大丈夫です。怪我は何もありませんでした。だいぶ疲労しているようですが、今夜特に熱を出さなければ何事もないでしょう。
ならよかったわ。お医者様はいても病院はないものね。
Everyone was relieved to hear that the girl was in good health. When Nanjo gave the more detailed results of his examination, concluding by saying that she was young and therefore should be fine. Everyone who no longer fell under this description nodded in assent.
やっぱり船は怖い。落ちる。バトラの言う通りだった。
I wonder if we'll ever get the backstory on Battler being afraid of the boats. But Maria is saying that actually gave me flashbacks to episode 1, the very first time when Battler got on a boat and she was singing this song, rhyme?
マリアちゃん、それバトラ君には内緒ね。
ああ、奥様、旦那様。
Goda, who was feeling sorry for himself and handing out cups, called out in an excessively loud voice. Apparently, he was that desperate to get everyone's attention.
客人の具合はどうだね？
はい、別状はないとのことでございます。
そうですか。それはよかった。今はどちらに？
熊沢さんとシャノンさんがお風呂に案内したはず。それから服を見立てると言ってましたな。
ならすぐに来るだろう。諸君、親族会議の日ではあるが、不幸な事故で訪れることとなった来客だ。
I see. I think Kraus is gonna make use of this situation in his advantage, to kind of avoid the whole discussion about inheritance and whatnot. How lucky for him.
招いた客人ではないが、どうか歓迎してやってほし
い。意義などあるわけもない。賛成や。
同じくだ。女の子には優しくしろっておふく。
あなたはそれを人生のモットーにしすぎよ。
ジョージたちも呼んだ方がいいわね。全員で挨拶しましょう。
そんな、かえって恐縮させちゃうんじゃない？
Eva stood up and made a phone call to the guest house. At that moment, they heard the sound of a knock, followed by Genji's voice.
源氏でございます。お客様がお越しになられました。
At those words, everyone fell into silence, and the people who had been sitting stood up straight. I'm also excited. Genji came in first, opening the door slowly, then moved off to the side, bowing deeply and urging the guest forwards. Oh, there we go. The guest had Shannon and Kumasawa following by her side. I think it's kind of funny that they were talking about how they were preparing clothes for her, and they just so happened to have such a gorgeous getup for her. Surely treating their guest with the greatest honor, I think. The guest had Shannon and Kumasawa following by her side, and though she had looked at a large amount of relatives waiting for her in the parlor, she didn't seem overawed in the slightest. Just this single point showed that this girl possessed a dignity appropriate for a guest invited in by the Ushiromiya family.
フルド様、ご紹介申し上げます。後ろ宮家当主代行、後ろ宮クラウスにございます。
ようこそ六軒島へ。事故でいらしたとはいえ、あなたは当家の客人だ。歓迎しますよ。
Oh, I'm excited. I'm so excited to see just what differences is going to arise because of her presence and how the relatives are going to interact with her.
どうぞ、当家おしばしの間、ご自宅と思い。
ありがとうございます。自己紹介申し上げます。フルドエリカと申します。この度は後宮家の皆様をお騒がせしてしまい、誠に申し訳ございません。
I'm just kind of thinking that her name is kind of interesting.
招かれざる客人であるにもかかわらずの歓迎、心より感謝いたします。
There was a general sigh of acceptance. The clothes that she had been lent were probably Jessica's formal wear from long ago. Oh, I see. But the composure of her introduction gave the impression of a dignity by no means inferior to the clothes she wore. The girl's name was Furudo Erika. She looked slightly younger than Battler and Jessica, but her composure and mannerisms were beyond what anyone would have expected from a high schooler, almost as though she was a well-to-do family's daughter.
ちょっと待て。こいつは何者だ？
無能のあんたが主役駒じゃゲームがさっぱり進まないもの。
I'm sorry.
だから私自身を駒として出させてもらった。
That's Burn Castle's piece? Oh, that's interesting.
まあ、ちょっとしたエキストラね。いくらクローズドサークルだからって、いつも同じ面々ばかりじゃ飽きるでしょ？
ふざけるな。ベアとのゲーム版には存在しない駒だ。俺もベアとも認めない。
ベアとのゲーム版でしょ？ベアとが拒否するってんなら考えてあげるわ。ベアとの意見は
Beato was unable to answer. Lamnadelda grinned as though in triumph.
ルールにイチャモンつけてゲームを降りてみる？
Oh, this is getting on my nerves.
あんたら推理者の得意技じゃない。 自分の意に沿わない要素が一粒でもあったら、それを理由に感触を起こして思考停止を。
安心なさい。このコマについては探偵宣言を出すわ。
探偵宣言？
フルドエリカは探偵であることを宣言するわ。
Battler actually stepped down? No longer the detective?
探偵は犯人ではなく、その証明にはいかなる証拠も必要としない。早い話が、この子を一切疑う必要はないということよ。これなら人間の駒として登場してもいつもと変わらずに推理できるでしょ。
ノックス第7条ね。探偵が犯人であることを禁ず。原文には例外条項もあるんだけど、今回は探偵は犯人でないと赤で宣言してるから、例外は考えなくていいわ。言葉遊びは嫌いだから、私も赤で言ってあげる。フルドエリカは犯人ではない。
復唱要求。フルドエリカはこれまでのベアとのゲームに影響を与えない。
Good repetition request.
いいわ、応じる。フルドエリカはこれまでのベアとのゲームに影響を与えない。あくまでも今回初登場のエキストラよ。これまでの世界には存在しないし、影響も与えないわ。
Okay, I will take it.
なら今の時点での在当者の人数はどうなるんだ？
もちろんこれまでの人数にプラス1してもらうわ。でも安心して、フルドエリカが1人増えただけ。それ以外の在当者の人数はこれまでのゲームと全く同じ。
At the time, the loud sound of people running through the corridor could be heard. It was Battler, George, and Jessica who had come from the guest house after being called here by Eva. They immediately spotted a guest they didn't recognize, and their eyes went wide.
どちら様？
おお、客様、落ちる落ちるで来た。
は？落ちる落ちる？
源氏さん、こちらの方は？
お客様のフルドエリカ様でございます。フルド様、こちらは当家令嬢のジェシカ様、並びにいとこのジョージ様、バトラ様でございます。
よろしく。後ろ宮ジェシカです。
はじめまして、フルドエリカです。よろしくお願いいたします。
Though Battler, George, and Jessica didn't have a clue what was going on and were utterly bewildered, they each introduced themselves.
好都合じゃない。これで人数がはっきりするわ。ゲストハウスのバトラたちが合流し、今客間には金蔵以外のすべての駒が人間が揃った。
そうなるわね。つまり今この客間にいる人数が在当者すべての人数ってことになるわね。
Should I just take it at face value? So everyone here is the total number of people on the island. You know what? I will just accept it. I'll read it and accept it.
18人いるはずの島が、じいさまが実は死んでて、そこにベルンカステルの駒が1人追加され。
The number of humans on the island has returned to 18. I glance around at the humans in the parlor. The guest, Furudo Erika. And behind her, Kumasawa-san and Shannon-chan. Off to the side was Genji-san. Uncle Krause and Aunt Natsuhi were welcoming the guest. Goda-san immediately started showing off. And Kennen-kun was being unsociable, wearing his usual blank expression. There was Dad and Kiria-san, Auntie Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi, Auntie Rosa and Maria, and Dr. Nanjo. And on either side of me, George Aniki and Jessica. This is everyone, the true number of people on the island at the moment.
何しろ僕たちは全員後ろ宮だからね。
I was just kind of thinking that's kind of weird to say, I guess, but maybe not, considering they are introducing themselves to Erika.
気兼ねなく下の名前で呼んでほしいね。僕はジョージ。
俺はバトラだ。よろしくな。
ありがとうございます。ジョージさん、バトラさん、私のこともエリカと呼んでもらえると嬉しいです。
よろしく、エリカさん。
Erika was welcomed like a guest, and it was decided that she could borrow the bedroom next to the cousin's room on the upper floor of the guest house. In front of all the relatives, she had seemed dignified and a bit stiff. However, as she talked with George and Jessica, her expression began to soften gradually. That's nice. And so, the detective Furudo Erika was placed on the game board.
Jessica ジェシカの昔の服、あんなに似合うなんて思いませんでした。
熊沢が勝手にお嬢様の昔の服を使用してしまいました。お許しください。
The clothes Erika was wearing were Jessica's old formal attire. Though the guest possessed a dignity that would put many adults to shame, her body was still physically similar to a middle schooler's. Jessica's old clothes fit her perfectly.
いいえ、お客様にふさわしい身なりでしたよ。もし彼女が気に入るようでしたら、お近づきの印にプレゼントしても良いでしょう。
かしこまりました。ありがとうございます。
警察やご家族には連絡しましたか？
はい。先方も大層ご心配なされていたようでした。
ところで、客人は本当に事故でしょうね。
Why is she asking that?
ご本人は寄港中のボートから転落したとおっしゃっております。
裏付けはありますか？
海保に問い合わせて確認しました。プレジャーボートの後部から転落したそうで、他の乗員たちは気づかなかったようです。実際の転落地点は分かりませんが、おそらくはここの近海でしょう。
この悪天候に船遊びなど愚かなことです。しかし近海で溺れてこの島に漂着することは考えられるのですか？
ありえないことではありません。この辺りの島には大抵漂流民が流れ着いた伝承がございます。おそらく事故は真実ではないかと。この台風です。島のどこであろうとも船での接岸は不可能です。
Genji had already figured it out. Natsuhi almost certainly suspected that this mysterious guest, who had arrived during the already high-stress family conference, might be a pawn in someone's plot. Natsuhi thinking always one step ahead, unlike Kraus. Therefore, Genji had already checked to make sure that the accident was real, and that Furudo Erika was her real name, and that there was nothing suspicious going on.
わかりました。主人も丁重にもてなすようにと指示しています。粗相のないようになさい。ですが、わかっていますね。
はい。親族会議には一切近づけません。
A good precaution.
夕食後はゲストハウスへお引き取り願います。
客人をお父様に挨拶させろというような流れにもならないよう、よく注意するのですよ。
もちろんです。心得ております。
ほう、フルドエリカとな。この六軒島に来客とは珍しい。楽しませてくれそうではないか。
ベルンカステル教の駒でしょう。人間のルールに従うとはいえ、プレイヤーは魔女です。侮ることはできませんよ。
This is also part of the game board, considering the actual real Byato isn't able to, I think, communicate with others right now.
問題ない。仮にベルンカステル教本人であろうとも、人間である以上、わらわたちの敵ではない。何しろガープもいる。人間はガープに絶対に勝てぬ。ありがとう。でも買いかぶりすぎは良くないわ。魔女の定義は魔法が使えることだけを意味したりはしない。
ですが、ジョーカーであり、台風の目である。それが魔女というもの。
A joker in the eye of a typhoon?
この六軒島で 魔女と名乗ってよいのはこのわらわ。黄金の魔女にして無限の魔女、ベルンカステル共鳴。エンジェの次なるコマがどの程度のものか。
Suddenly reminded of NG, and it's so... I don't know what's the word for it. Dehumanizing to be called a piece, NG.
じっくりと観覧させてもらおうぞ。
Okay, now I did not expect that, but I didn't get jump scared. But it's also kind of a weird place to end, I think, because I was kind of expecting more. And we're gonna get closer to the start of the murders. But probably, I think we are a few chapters off, maybe? Alright, I'm gonna end here for today. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I know I've made some changes to my schedule because I'm getting busier this part of the year. And my uploads will be less regular, I think. But hopefully I can still put up a weekly schedule for you guys. But anyway, this episode was one that was more interesting, mainly because of Erika's presence or her appearance. That doesn't mean that the other episodes were not, but that this one was the one that I was more anticipating because of a new character appearing. But now I'm gonna be very curious to see how she will interact with other members of the family and what's gonna change really in episode 5, considering we have this new added factor or variable in the equation. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like this video, like it, dislike it if you don't, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!